Alright guys, welcome. So something a bit different today. I'm in a bit of a predicament at the minute, and I'm wondering if you lot can help me out with it. Over the years I've gone mental on fishing. So when I was married originally, many years ago, probably going back nearly 20 years ago now, crazy isn't it? At least 20 years, probably 22 years ago. Where's the time gone? But I had a big outdoor shed. It was the size of a garage. I had loads of chest freezers and fridge freezers and stuff like that for my bait and tackle. At one stage I had 4 tackle boxes with different stuff in. If I was going cod fishing, I was going like place fishing or soul fishing on Chesil, I just pick up a box. If I had a box for mulleting, I had a box for doing lots of different things, and I had gear for doing lots of different things. I had porky pigs there for mulleting. I had the Coniflex Flatty Fanatics for doing flattying and bassing. I had the Ziplex basses at one stage. I had the Primo Synchros, M4 Evos, I had the HSMs, HST Dymix, HST Dymic Evos, what else did I have? Compressor Super Sports. I mean, just endless amounts of rods for different things. I had the Coniflex, Nemesis, SLRs, just loads of different gear, and like the original 525s, the original 535s, which I used for like eeling and that back, and then the sloshes, the 7HT mags. You know what I mean? And just endless amounts of gear. And when I sort of like got separated, I sort of like moved into a flat, and I got rid of a lot of my gear just to scale down, because it's room at the end of the day. And then obviously when I've got to with my partner now, we've been together now probably 11 years, and we've got a 4-bedroom house. It's not a massive 4-bedroom house, but it's a fair size, and I've always had like a room in between my lounge and my kitchen, which I've always used for my fishing. Okay, so I've like had fridge freezers in there and tackle and stuff like that. Having said that, it's not massive, so I haven't been able to like do it properly and like put things in places where it's easy. I like to be organised with it. And then as the kids have got older now, so going back about 5 years ago, I had a big clear out and kept 2 sets of rods, and then went down to 1 set of rods, what I used to use for everything, and then equipment, stuff like that. And I've always liked to be organised with it, with fishing. That's just the way I like to be with fishing. I mean, everything's organised, everything's easy to do. I mean, people say like the reels wise, I've always kept a decent amount of reels, because if I've got 2 sets of reels and I need fresh line on one of them, like I haven't got time to put fresh line, I can grab the other set of reels and I'm ready to go. So reel maintenance and keeping things really smooth and stuff like that, it plays a big part of my fishing. So rod wise, now lately I've got a studio again, and what I found, because I've got room in the studio, I've sort of gone in, Joseph thinks I need to go to rehab, but I just can't help myself, if I'm honest. I mean, the Back to the Future production shouldn't have gone, because it got me thinking in that. And I bought like a Tiger headlight, I bought a Prince and Tech headlight and that stuff. It's nice to have and nice to look back on and think, you know what, I miss that, right? So I've gone up with Zaxxon Pazuchas too now, and I've decided to get something else. But to be honest, when I was using the HSTs, I loved them, but for me personally, I've been used to a lot stiffer rod, and it shows, you know what I mean? But they're one of my favourite rods in the world, and I'll go through it in a minute. And I'm actually getting rid of them again, okay? And I don't really want to, if I'm honest. The only reason I'm doing it is because a guy which I know has helped me out with some bass rods, and I don't think he really wanted to sell them. And I've had about 4 or 5 different people offering me money for these HSTs already, and I've been like, I can't do it. But they feel like a little bit, because I'm used to like obviously stiffer rods in the midsection now. I like a bit more firmness in a rod. He's looking for an all-round like rain rod what we can use, and it's absolutely he's never going to get that again. It's out of the last batch from Ziplex, and you're never going to get that again. And I'm in 2 minds, because I really don't want to let them go. I mean, they're sat there like that now, but I paid 900 quid for them. So it's a lot of money just to be sat there doing nothing, isn't it? And at the end of the day, someone could be using them. They're mint. They've been used once for the Back to the Future production, you know what I mean? And they're a lovely build. They just look absolutely spanking. And I know he's so excited to be able to get them. And the only reason I've done it, like I said, a few people messaged me. I said, not for sale, not for sale, not for sale. And he helped me out with these, okay? And these are the Century bass rods, okay? The original World Championship ones. They've been sent back to to Century, sorry, and they've been rebuilt by Century. Okay, so they've had all the original stuff done, and then they've had the spigots redone, and all the shrink tubing and that redone, and they're lovely. And he let me have them for a really good price as well. So I do owe him a favour with that. Then 2 days later, a mate of mine was after some bass rods. So I said to him, look, my mate's got a pair of my bass rods for sale. he said, yeah, I do. Are they really good condition? I said, yeah, they're mint and stuff, right? So I went and got them all for him, picked up the money, and I went met my mate, and there's a little scratch on one of them. He's like, oh, I don't really want to pay that for that. I said, you know what? I'll have them. And when there's a little bit of a scratch on the side, nothing. But these are very hard to come by now. And I mean very hard to come by. These are the Century Ensure bash rods. And you're not going to get them again. Okay? I sold one to Adam a few years back because I couldn't get hold of another one at the time. Adam managed to keep one of them, and he managed to get two, so he's got two of them. But they're not making bash rods like they used to anymore, are they? You know what I mean? So with that in mind, it's one of them really. So at the moment I've got two sets of bash rods, so I don't really know what to do with that. But to be fair, the older Centuries are a bit more lighter, so I'm thinking using them for flatting and stuff like that. If not, something's got to go. It's one of them, isn't it? But when I go to these rods now, people say, how many rods do you need? One rod can do everything. I would disagree, right? People are going to say, I use two rods for everything. Andy, I use one rod for everything. You know what I mean? Don't need loads of different rods and that, but I'll tell you why now, and I'll go through it. So, these three rods should do everything you never need to do within fishing. Everything. You could fish for anything with those three rods, okay? You got the T900s, glass tip. Really lovely, loads of power, will land anything from the shore. Okay, if you've got big tides, lovely because it's got the glass tip with the lead, with the tide, so you don't trip your lead and stuff. Having said that, the time and places, well, I've found them fishing in fast tide been absolutely fantastic. You know what I mean? Really, really good. Bristol Channel ideal, stuff like that. Having said that, if you get loads of weed and stuff like that, and you're mixing heavier ground and stuff, where you're going to have to put strain on the rod, it's not the rod for that. Okay, it's not a rod where you can literally bully anything to, because it's got a glass tip on it at the end of the day. And I've used them on the rocks raying, and when you get a fish on the surface, it does not struggle because it's got all the power in the midsection. But I like a stronger tip when I'm specimen on it for rays, because you need something where you're in control, and with that glass tip, the tips, you know what I mean, it's hard to keep control. Having said that, for 90% of my fishing, the T900 will do the business, and it's one of my favourite out and out rods to use. Okay, it really is. It's absolutely an unbelievable rod, and one of if not the single best all rounder ever built, and I do love it. Having said that, I can't use it for everything. So the next step on is the T1000 from the Century range. Now the T1000, I've got to say I'm in love with it, because I am. It's a bit dirty from yesterday. Needs a wipe down really. What can I say? T1000, an out and out animal. Okay, an out and out animal. It really is. It's just an absolute beast of a rod. It's meant for fast tides, big fish, hauling big fish, and it does that job what it's supposed to do. I mean, you can lift fish, you can bully fish. It's got all the power you need in a rod, and if you're hussing, eeling, toping and stuff like that over rough ground and that is what you want to have in your hands. I mean, it's an absolute champion of all rods. But if you're using it for rock fishing, for rays and stuff, I feel that the tip's a little bit too much. It's not built for raying. It's built for rough ground, over rough ground, hauling big fish and stuff like that. And that's what it does. And it does if not better than anything else. But I want a raying rod. I want something with a nice tip. So as the tip goes down, and especially when it goes into the tide and stuff, a bit like a T9, a bit like a T9. Now, me personally, I know I'm going to say, Andy, you've been really picky, but I want to see a T900 with a carbon tip. That's what I would love to see, because with that carbon tip, a little bit less than a T1000 tip, you're going to get that pull over. It's like you can see it when it's sat in the tide. It will bend over and over, but the T9 will go right over with the tide. You want something in between that, which would be perfect. Okay, and this is where I come back into, and in a minute when I go back into these two rods I've bought now. So the T1200, if not one of the toughest of all fishing rods. Okay, This is the SB version, so it's slightly, this is 14'4", the T1000, the Salvador version this is. So the T1200 is slightly longer, but this is, to be honest, a lot better rod to use. I say better rod, it's a lot nicer to cast. The T1200, the bigger one, is quite long, and it can be a brute to cast. This is, you've got the same power as the other one, with a slightly shorter rod. But this, guys, I've bought for one reason and one reason only, as you can see here. So I've got a reel seat at the bottom. So if I want to go and use a multiplier, I've got it set up there where I can use a multiplier. So if I want to take that eel in, or I want to take that bullis in, or I want to go, I'm going rough ground, I've got bully big fish up and stuff like that, I can take it. I've got the multiplier there to set it up. I've got my coasters up there, they're not in the way, and I can use the rod, you know what I mean? So they're there. The coasters, why have I got a pair of coasters and a pair of reel seats, may I ask? If I'm going skate fishing, I won't use a multiplier, and the reason being the drag on it. Most multipliers got like a 20-25 pound drag on them, where I don't want that. If I'm going like Fort Ventura or going skate fishing, they will take that drag no problem at all and pull line off that reel. I'm looking for 60 to 8 pound of drag, so I'm looking for like the pen slammers, or I've got the iron loops there from the Akios as well, which have got major drag on them enough to cope with that. That is the reason I've got that. I've not used these yet, and the reason I haven't used them is because I haven't done no skate fishing and gone to Fort Ventura. I mean, I've got one at a trip in Fort Ventura booked in for November, and I've got them all set up ready to go for that. But those rods there have landed £200 skate on them. Okay, I had these rods originally. I bought them off for a guy called Ross Stewart in Teignmouth when I first moved to Teignmouth, like going back over 10 years ago nearly. And Ross had them built with the Teignmouth Sea Angling Club colours, I believe, with gold and blue. They look really nice. Andy Muse built, which is going to be very hard to get hold of. They're immaculate. Okay, so these rods here, the spigot on them is absolutely unreal. You've got loads left on the spigot. The condition of the rod is fantastic. It's been used a lot when Ross had it, I think. Then I had it. I've used it a few times. I just didn't get on with the colours. I didn't like the colour really, so I sold it and I bought Yorkies off him, which were black and red. And these went to Luke Johns, and Luke Johns had them for a while. He used them to go up to Scotland when he had them, and he caught a £200 skate on one of them, locked up lovely, handled it no problem at all. And yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic rod. He then sold them to a mate of mine, Eddie Riley. Eddie Riley had them for a bit, sold them back to Luke Johns. He had them for a bit and then sold them back to Eddie. I put a post up the other day to do Back to the Future Part 2 with the M427 SU, and Eddie got hold of me and said, Andy, I still got those rods there, I've got ferrets there, I don't need them, mate, come and pick them up. So I went and grabbed them, and ideal M427 SUs back in the house. So my idea with these, I'm going to use them. I'm only going to do something light with them. I'm going to have to move the reel seat up because they got reducers on them. They had reducers put on them. But I'm going to use them for Back to the Future Part 2. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them over to Daiuelen in South Wales, and I'm going to get them to build them. Why do I need more rods when I've got those 3 rods? I'm going to tell you now. I need something for raying. There's times where if it's flat calm and I'm fishing off the rocks and I'm low down, I would quite happily take the T900s. They would handle it fine. But it's one of them as well with the T1s. The tip's slightly too much for raying. Not saying it's too much, because I want that pulled down over with the tide. So with most of the marks I fish, you get a lot of tide, and I don't know. I'm just looking for a raying rod, and that's why I've got that back. That, ladies and gentlemen, I'll go on to a minute because it's the next step up. But that there goes in between the T9 and the T1 for me, the M427 SU. All round, if not the best Specimen Hunter's rod ever built. It will do everything. You could go place fishing with this, you could go dab fishing with this, you could go bullis fishing with this, conger fishing, bass fishing, ray fishing, tope fishing, skate fishing, you name it, it will catch it. It's got all the power you ever need in a rod in the world. like the M4 Evos, this was a slightly bigger diameter for the 27mm, and it's a souped up version of the original M4 rods. Everybody I know who were into the specimen hunting in the years had a pair of these. They were an upgrade for me from the HST Evos. I got offered a pair of them the other day. I nearly had them, but they're not built exactly the same, which put me off. I'm a bit funny like that. But these are what I had, and they sit there. They sit in between. They've got all the power I need in the midsection, more the power I need in the butt altogether. They've got a very, very powerful quick release tip, and it's just, the tip is just unreal because the bite detection on it is absolutely fantastic. It goes over lovely in the tide, and you've got all the power you need. Andy, if you love them so much, I know what you're going to say. Andy, if you love them so much, why did you get rid of them? The reason I got rid of them, when you're fishing 5 nights a week with an M427 SU, it's a beast of a rod. 27mm, you know what I mean? It's a lot thicker than all those rods there, and it's just a beast, an absolute beast. It's a beast to cast. You have to cast it, you know what I mean, you have to bend it, but I miss it. I really do miss it. It's something for me which I've been missing in my life. I have been missing in my life. I mean, I've sat there smiling, just looking at them, because the memories I have with these rods are just unreal. The range, it's just, I've always been a big Ziplex fan. I have, and I do love the Centuries. I do love the Centuries because I feel that Century in the last 10 years at least have run away with the show with the technology with rods. Obviously, the gearbox systems with the Eliminator range, they are the Specimen Hunters rods now, because they are the advanced angler's rods. You need to be able to bend them, you need to be able to cast them to get a lot out of the rods. I know anglers what have got them, and they cast them over head thumps and stuff like that, and that the rod's controlling them, you know what I mean? Where if you start pendulum casting them and getting into the midsection, they turn into absolutely animals. Anything like catapults is the way to describe them. I mean, the T1000's a beast, and I know that if I've got room to fish with it and bend it, it's a fantastic rod to use. But if I've got short places with rocks behind me, 9 times out of 10 I can't get that drop to be able to turn it into it and get into that midsection all the time. So that's why I'm looking for another rod. But if you're honest, there's not a lot of difference. I mean, in length with these to these. So I was looking for something a little bit smaller, and this is where I go back to this. Now, these were one of my favourite rods ever. Write down in the comments, guys, if you had a pair of HST Dymix or the M427s. Okay, the Dymix were not my first Ziplexes, but something I got introduced to, because someone said to me, have a go with a Primo Synchro, Andy. And I had a go with a Primo Synchro, and I loved it. And then when I went to put it up on page, I'm going to get a pair of Synchros, someone said to me, don't, have a go on the HSTs first, see how you like them. And I had a go on the HSTs, and as soon as I had a go on the HSTs, at the time, what I used to do is drop the lead out, let the drop lead back in. As the lead dropped into there like that, I would put my rod down, turn and hit it. And I used to, because of a lot of the marks, like I used to fish like Salcombe Way and stuff like that, there's not a lot of room behind you. And these rods are and like Mother Come and place like that, there's not a lot of room there to like pendulum cast like that. And by doing that drop, it allowed the lead to be in there. So as I was coming up over, the lead's coming from there up. And I used to get fantastic distance, enough back then, not nowhere near as what I do now compared to, I don't know actually, it's a different form of casting, you know what I mean? But they were the ones, I loved them, I absolutely loved them. And then I started to getting into more like small like raying and that, they was handling it and not fine and stuff like that. And then I started to fish a lot of rough weathers and stuff like that. So I got a pair of these and a pair of the Evos, which I used for both sizes and stuff. Evos were a lovely rod, an absolutely lovely rod. And to be honest, it's the memories. It's another rod again. I've got it sat there like that, those two there now, and I'm so happy. But do I need them? So I don't want to do it, but I've parted with these, and I've had messages I know from you all. I've had, well, not all of you, but I've had 3 individual people plus a guy what I've said I would sell them to message me. I wasn't going to sell them originally, guys, and I'm gonna let them go. And the reason I'm going to let them go is the simple fact that they're brand new. They're going to be sat in my fishing room like that, and they deserve more than that. They deserve more than that. And a mate of mine obviously looked after me the Century bass rods and stuff, and I've said to him, I'll let them go to him. So this time in a few days' time, they will be in someone else's hands, and I feel quite heartbroken. I really, really do, because I don't want to let them go, but what do you do? Yes, I'm going to miss them, because there is marks where having that slightly shorter foot off the rod just makes it a lot easier to cast. Yeah, but I don't know. It's hard. It is hard. It is hard. I mean, what was your favourite rod growing up? Write in the comments. I want to hear you all. I had someone say to me earlier on, the Shakespeare. I loved the Shakespeare, and I had the Shakespeare. Two for four. No, it wasn't 2 for 40 quid. Was it? 40 quid each. It was 80 quid for a pair. And I snapped them in the end. I snapped them, and then I got the Conoflexes, not Conoflexes, the Abu Garcia Conolon. Then I had Saran, is it how it was pronounced? Abu Garcia. I mean, I was a big Abu fan. It was like that was the bee's knees. Then you used to see Ziplex in the magazine, and I had the PPT Sidewinder range and the Evo Viper Evos and that, and the BPBT. Eddie said that to me the other day, so I still got a Sidewinder there if you want to go on it. I was like, and then I went on to these. And this, I'm so glad Century bought Ziplex, because me personally, that was it. That was the boy. That was the boy. Growing up, it was that was what you wanted. You know what I mean? If you had a Ziplex in your hand, it was like driving around in a BMW or a Jag. You know what I mean? Or Mercedes. It was what you wanted to do back then. You know what I mean? And I would have been very sad to see it just end like that. I mean, the technology into what those rods were, British made, and the range is unreal. Now, I've got the opportunity to purchase a brand new set of bullets. A brand new set of bullets. But what do I do with them? It's the question. I mean, the bullets would go there. I mean, the bullets would do exactly the same as the T9s, wouldn't they? If not more. I mean, they were very big on the casting field. They're a very big diameter rod, but they've got the power and backbone in the butt section with a heavy glass tip, which make them just pure perfection, really. But how many rods do you need, and how many rods do you use? I'm thinking that end is where I'm going to be staying. And I'm thinking that I don't think I'll ever get rid of them now, the M427FUs. Saying that, what you do, isn't it? I'm feeling that this rod and that rod, what I'm missing in between, without casting one, is a Tip Tornado Graphic Sport. And I was going to get a Tip Tornado Graphic Sport. But the reason I didn't is Adam. Adam said to me, he said, Andy, that would feel a hell of a soft to you. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, because of you getting the way you cast now, and you're getting into the midsection of the rod, and you're not casting off the tip, it means you're bending the rod. He said, and with a Tip Tornado Graphic Sport, you'll go to, they're quite thin diameter rod, but they're quite powerful. They would be perfect for raying and stuff. He said, what you're doing is, as you're coming around, they will feel very soft for you. And he knows I don't like a soft rod, so it put me off straight away, because I was ready to buy one. I mean, I spoke to Mark in Plymouth, and I said to him about it, and I said, because he said, I love mine, and I was all ready for it. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to buy a pair. And then when I spoke to Ads, he said about, like, basically, obviously, the casting of it and getting into the midsection there, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And I didn't do it in the end. And to be honest, those rods do everything around here for it. But I don't know. How much stuff do you got, and how much stuff do you need? And I'm puzzled at the moment, because I'm going to have to get rid of a pair of bass rods, I think. So if anybody's looking for Century bass rods, I'm not sure what ones I'm going to get rid of. I don't really want to get rid of the other ones. I'd offer them back to matey first, I think. But I don't know how many rods do you need. It's one of them, really, isn't it? But that's a rod collection, guys. that's a rod collection. I mean, you shouldn't need that. Okay, really, what I'd have liked to have seen is this rod here to be done with a carbon tip and a glass tip, the T900, because what I feel, what would have been even better is for the T1000s to be a T1100. Okay, stick with me here. And then in between the T9 and T1, what they are now, you'd have had the T1. So a T1 would have efficiently been a T900 butt section with a carbon tip. Okay, so a lighter version tip of the T1000. Still powerful and that thing, but just having a little bit more forgiveness for that tide and for the rays, really. For that pull down. If you get one fish taken off like that, it don't matter if it hits it and runs, but you get finicky like on the tip. You want that little bit of movement sometimes, so it doesn't feel. Well, that tip's quite a heavy tip, and personally, it's what that needs to be. I mean, you look at that tip there now. There's loads of movement in that tip. Still a very powerful tip, but then you look at this tip. This is the tip for it. See that? Just loads of movement there for bites. I do love the Ziplex range, guys, and I haven't used them for so many years now, and I think the reason I've not used them for so many years is the modern day technology with it and the gearbox systems and stuff. But, and I repeat, but I don't think they make them like this anymore. Obviously the Ziplex. I just like to see more of the Ziplex range come out. They've got the profiles and the M4s at the moment, haven't they? The M4 GTs, the M4 Evos, and they've got the profile GTs and the profile, I think Evos or something like that. Profiles and profile Evos. So they've got 4 different versions of Ziplex coming out. But personally, who would love to see them come back out and be available on the market? I tell you what now, if I put these up for sale, I reckon they'd be gone within 24 hours. Honestly, if I put the M427 SUs, Andy Mills built, put them on there now and stuck them up online for 750 quid, I reckon they'd be gone within 24 hours. Easy. I reckon they would. Those HST Dymix, right? If they were new, those M427s, I could put them up for the same price. I paid 900 quid for these HST Dymix, right? 900 quid, and they are a mint. I mean, immaculate. There's not a speck on them. And mate, who I got them off, spent more than that on them. And when I said to him, I said, I'll give you 800 quid for them, because they're mint. And to be fair, anything between, so I know second hand, so I think you'll pay anything between £700 to £1,000 for a pair of new rods, second hand, but they were new. So originally, new, those blanks would have been 500. So it probably cost you about 1,300 quid to get them built. And he said, I'll let them go for 9, Andy. And I said, do you know what? I'll give you 900 quid for them. And I knew when I bought them that it was worth every penny, because I won't lose money on those rods. I could put them on sale now, and I guarantee within 24 hours, exactly the same with them, they would be ate up. They would be. I've had 3 individual people message me, one from up north, 2 guys from Wales, and a local guy who I've spoke to personally, and a mate of mine, and they're sought after. High speed tournaments. You never make them like that anymore. They were a true classic. If you're an older gentleman, and obviously you're not looking for a bulky rod, but you're looking for the power and easy to cast and manoeuvre, they are absolutely perfect. Sometimes people don't want those big 15-foot rods and stuff. They want a nice compact rod, what's easy to cast and lots of power into manoeuvre. That's a perfect Bristol Channel rod. That's a perfect Chesil Beach rod. That's a perfect rain off South Devon rod. You could use that rain and stuff over in Wales. It's a perfect all-rounder, that, and it was suited for mixed to rough grounds. And to be honest, I wouldn't want to go out and out rough grounding with it, but it will cope with it. You know what I mean? So yeah, guys, that is a little talk on rods. And as you can see, it's a question I got the other day: is why do you need all your gear? And I've told you from my sort of thing why I've got individual rods and what I look for in between the rods and stuff. And yeah, as I said, I am going to start scaling down. It's not something I want to do, because I'm quite happy to have those rods there just stuck on the wall and just left there. as showpieces in my fishing room. I mean, I could put them above the window on brackets really. But at the end of the day, I would use them all the time. I'm going to use those M427s a lot, I think, within ray fishing and stuff like that. So I'm going to keep them. I'm going to get them rebuilt and I'm going to keep them. These ones here, very, very sad to let go, but I am going to let them go to a mate of mine. I know he'll look after him, and I know they'll give him the same sort of joy as I used to have back in the day with them. And they are, if not one of the nicest rods I've ever used in my life. And they still would be. I mean, I had that ray on there the other day. They handled it fine. They're lovely to cast, and I mean lovely to cast. They load so quick. You don't need no room. You get right into the midsection and stuff. You can use a slightly shorter drop. I can pendulum cast in shorter, tight spaces with these because of the size of the rod, and they're just. I love them. I really do, and I'm very sad to see them go. But guys. Yeah, it's a little bit of filming for you today. We will talk a bit more about other bits and pieces this week and do some other reviews and stuff. But from us all here on the Sunday, just thought I'd do a little talk because I had a few people with messages about rods and stuff, and I do feel that I've got a bit of a rod fetish and reel fetish at the minute. And how many rods and that do you need at the end of the day? And the answer to that question is probably. That's too many, so I've got to sort of like scale down in size. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to get rid of one of those bass rods. So I'm either going to get rid of the Ensures or the Century Bass. If I get rid of the Century Bass, I will give the guy got it off first refusal. I'm going to obviously get rid of the HST Dymix. They're already gone now, so unfortunately, guys, he's having them Wednesday. Do apologise to the other ones to you. I know people are going to say, when are you going to get rid of the M427s, Andy? I'm not going to get rid of those M427s. I'm going to keep them. They are something what I've got what I need there. I've got everything I need. So I've got place fishing. I've got chisel work with T900s, Bristol channel work and stuff like that. I've got ray fishing from the rocks. Anything I want to do ray fishing wise, rough conditions and stuff like that. M427s would do them all. T1000s, I want to go hussing, want to go eeling, want to go toping and stuff like that. They're going to handle that completely. And if I want to go Fort Ventura or go skate fishing and stuff like that, I've got the T1200s, what will literally land anything in UK waters. So, and European waters, may I add. Probably worldwide water. They're just an absolute beast. So that's why I've got 4 different rods. I can't get a rod to do exactly what I went over that within 2 rods. I can't. If that was slightly less tippier, I could get rid of them, and then I could use the T12s for that sort of, for the more rougher stuff and stuff, because I could do that anyway. But for a ray rod, that is what I want. That's what I want. I want something with lots of power, a lighter tip, just a lovely tip on it, raying tip on it, really. It's a different kind of sport, isn't it, ray fishing? Most of the time, you can fish over rough ground onto clean ground. You're fishing over clean ground, targeting them. So the only thing you're doing is lifting it over rough ground, where sometimes when you're fishing like with the T1000 and tope and stuff, you're fishing it into rough ground, into rough mixed ground. So it's going to put a lot more like bullying power on the rod, where the T1000s would do that properly. But guys, hope you enjoyed the episode on rods. We will hopefully... It's a bit of educational to some people to say why I look for certain things with rods and why, what I do with rods. I mean, I am tempted to get a pair of tip tornado graphics or cast, at least have a go casting them, because if I find that they are cast, that I do like casting them and they're not too like forgiving in the midsection, then what I'll probably do is maybe get a pair of graphics and then put them on as showpieces really. But I'm not getting rid of them. They're staying put. Anyway, tight lines from Webby. See you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. Hope everybody's had a few fish out, and catch you this week in another adventure.